I never thought a random Tuesday night could change my life, but that's exactly what happened when I walked into the Cue Ball, a local pool hall in Santa Ana. The day had been a nightmare at work. Endless meetings and a client from hell had left me feeling drained and irritable. I needed a distraction, something to take my mind off the stack of reports waiting for me back at the office. The moment I pushed open the heavy wooden door, the familiar sounds and smells washed over me. The sharp crack of balls colliding, the low murmur of conversation, and the faint scent of beer and chalk. I made my way to the bar, ordering a whiskey neat. As I waited for my drink, I scanned the room, my eyes drawn to a brunette bent over a table in the far corner. She was lining up a shot, her face a mask of concentration. Even from across the room, I could see the intensity in her eyes. As she took the shot, I held my breath, watching as the cue ball sailed across the felt, kissing the 8-ball just right and sending it smoothly into the corner pocket. A perfect shot. I couldn't help but smile as she straightened up, a victorious grin spreading across her face. She high-fived her opponent, then turned, her gaze sweeping the room before landing on me. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. She had the most mesmerizing blue eyes I'd ever seen, like sapphires catching the light. I quickly looked away, feeling a blush creep up my neck. What was wrong with me? I never got flustered like this, especially not over a stranger. I grabbed my drink and found an empty table, trying to shake off the odd feeling. As I set up a rack, I couldn't help but steal glances at her. She moved with a quiet confidence, her lean body graceful as she navigated around the table. I was so distracted that I completely botched my break, sending balls scattering wildly across the felt. "Rough start?" a voice behind me said. I turned to find the brunette standing there, an amused smile playing on her lips. "Just warming up," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "I'm Claire, by the way." "Harper," she said, extending her hand. As our palms met, I felt a jolt of electricity run through me. Her hand was soft but her grip firm, and I found myself reluctant to let go. "I couldn't help but notice your game earlier," I said. "That was some impressive shooting." Harper's eyes lit up. "Thanks. I've been playing since I was a kid. My dad owned a pool hall." We fell into easy conversation, discovering we had a lot in common. Harper was a freelance photographer, and her eyes sparkled as she talked about her latest project, documenting the street art scene in Santa Ana. I found myself captivated by her passion, the way she used her hands to emphasize her points, the little crinkles that appeared at the corners of her eyes when she smiled. As we talked, I felt the stress of the day melting away. Harper had a way of making me feel at ease, like we'd known each other for years instead of minutes. When she mentioned her love for indie music, I couldn't contain my excitement. "No way! I just scored tickets to the Lunar Tides concert next month. They're my absolute favorite band," I gushed. Harper's eyes widened. "Are you serious? I've been dying to see them live." Before I knew what I was doing, I blurted out, "Why don't you come with me? I mean, if you want to, no pressure or anything." Harper's smile was radiant. "I'd love to." As the night wore on, we played a few games, our competitive spirits coming out. Harper was definitely the better player, but I managed to hold my own. With each game, we seemed to gravitate closer to each other. A brush of hands as we reached for the chalk, a playful bump of hips as we passed each other around the table. Each contact sent a shiver through me, leaving me wanting more. When last call was announced, I was surprised to find that hours had passed. We exchanged numbers, promising to firm up plans for the concert. As we walked out into the cool night air, Harper turned to me. "I had a really great time tonight, Claire," she said softly. "Me too," I replied, suddenly feeling shy. We stood there for a moment, the air between us charged with unspoken possibility. Harper reached out, tucking a strand of my blonde hair behind my ear. Her touch was gentle, lingering just a second longer than necessary. My heart raced as she leaned in. For a moment I thought she might kiss me. Instead, she pulled me into a hug. "Good night, Claire," she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. As I watched her walk away, I knew that something had shifted. This wasn't just a new friendship, it was the beginning of something more. Something that both thrilled and terrified me. I couldn't wait to see where it would lead. The days following my chance encounter with Harper at the cue ball were a whirlwind of emotions. I found myself constantly reaching for my phone, a smile spreading across my face every time I saw her name pop up on the screen. Our text conversations flowed effortlessly, ranging from playful banter about our pool skills to deep discussions about our hopes and dreams. One evening, as I lounged on my couch scrolling through our chat history, I realized with a start that I hadn't stopped smiling in hours. There was something about Harper that just made me feel alive. It was a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time, if ever. "Coffee tomorrow?" Her text lit up my screen and my heart skipped a beat. "Absolutely. How about that little place on 4th?" I replied, trying to keep my excitement in check. The next day, I found myself standing in front of the mirror, scrutinizing my reflection. I'd changed my outfit 3 times already, settling on a soft blue sweater that brought out the green in my eyes. Why was I so nervous? It was just coffee with a friend, right? As I pushed open the door to the cafe, the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans enveloped me, and there she was, sitting by the window, the afternoon sun catching the highlights in her chestnut hair. Harper looked up, her face breaking into a radiant smile that made my breath catch in my throat. "Hey you," she said warmly as I approached the table. "Hey yourself," I replied, sliding into the seat across from her. "Hope I didn't keep you waiting." "Not at all, I was just people watching." "It's an occupational hazard for a photographer," she winked. We fell into easy conversation, picking up right where we'd left off at the pool hall. Harper's passion for her work was infectious as she described her latest photo series, her blue eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I found myself leaning in closer, captivated not just by her words, but by the way she spoke, the little crinkle of her nose when she laughed, the graceful movement of her hands as she gestured. "So, what about you?" Harper asked, taking a sip of her latte. "How did you end up in marketing?" I laughed, running a hand through my blonde hair. "Would you believe it was because of a college prank gone wrong?" Harper raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, this I've got to hear." As I launched into the story, I noticed how attentive Harper was, hanging on my every word. It was refreshing to have someone so genuinely interested in what I had to say. Before I knew it, hours had passed, our coffee long since gone cold. "Oh wow, I didn't realize it was getting so late," I said, glancing at my watch. "Time flies when you're having fun," Harper smiled, and I felt a warmth spread through my chest. As we stood to leave, Harper suddenly reached out, her fingers gently brushing against my hand. "You have a little," she murmured, her touch feather-light as she wiped away a speck of foam from the corner of my mouth. The casual touch sent a jolt of electricity through me. Our eyes met, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. I could see flecks of gray in the blue of her eyes, could feel the warmth of her breath on my skin. My heart raced, and I found myself wondering what it would be like to close that small distance between us, to feel her lips on mine. The moment was broken by the clatter of a dropped mug, making us both jump. Harper pulled her hand away, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. I should get going," she said, her voice slightly husky. "I have a shoot in the morning." "Right, of course," I nodded, trying to ignore the lingering tingling where her fingers had touched my skin. We walked out together, the evening air cool on my flushed face. As we said our goodbyes, Harper pulled me into a hug. I breathed in her scent, a mix of coffee, lavender, and something uniquely her. The embrace lasted a beat longer than usual, and when we pulled apart, I could see a question in Harper's eyes that mirrored my own confused emotions. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind kept replaying every moment of our time together. The way Harper tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating, the sound of her laugh, the feeling of her hand on mine. What was happening to me? I'd never felt this way about a woman before. The realization both thrilled and terrified me. My phone buzzed with a text from Harper. "Had a great time today. Sweet dreams, Claire." I hugged the phone to my chest, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Excitement, confusion, and a touch of fear. I was stepping into uncharted territory, and I had no idea where this path would lead. But as I drifted off to sleep, one thought kept echoing in my mind. Whatever this was with Harper, it felt right. And I couldn't wait to see where it would take us. As the days turned into weeks, Harper became a constant presence in my life. Our coffee dates became more frequent, often stretching into long walks through the city, or impromptu photo sessions where I'd model for her latest project. Each moment spent with her felt like a new discovery, not just about her, but about myself. I found myself noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. The way other women moved, the softness of their features, the gentle curves of their bodies. It was as if Harper had awakened something in me, a part of myself I'd never known existed. And while it was exhilarating, it was also terrifying. What did this mean for me, for us? As I grappled with these new feelings, one thing became increasingly clear. I was falling for Harper, hard and fast. And I had no idea what to do about it. The day of the photography exhibition arrived, and I found myself standing in front of my closet, scrutinizing every piece of clothing I owned. I wanted to look perfect for Harper, though I tried to convince myself it was just because we were going to a swanky art gallery. After what felt like hours, I settled on a sleek black dress that hugged my curves in all the right places. As I applied the finishing touches to my makeup, my phone buzzed with a text from Harper. "Can't wait to see you. You're going to love this exhibit." My heart fluttered at her words. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. It was just an art show with a friend, I told myself. But deep down, I knew it was so much more than that. The gallery was bustling when I arrived. I scanned the crowd, my eyes searching for Harper, and then I saw her and my breath caught in my throat. She was wearing a deep blue jumpsuit that accentuated her lean figure, her chestnut hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked stunning. "Claire!" Harper's face lit up as she spotted me. She made her way through the crowd, and before I knew it, she was pulling me into a warm embrace. "You look amazing," she whispered in my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. "So do you," I managed to reply, my voice a little shaky. We made our way through the gallery, our shoulders brushing as we moved from one photograph to the next. Harper's excitement was contagious as she explained the techniques used in each shot, her passion for the art form evident in every word. As we stood before a particularly striking black and white image, I felt Harper's hand on the small of my back, guiding me closer to the photograph. The warmth of her touch seemed to burn through the fabric of my dress, setting my skin alight. "Look at the way the photographer captured the light here," Harper murmured, her breath warm against my ear. "It's like she's revealing the soul of the subject." I nodded, but I wasn't looking at the photograph anymore. I was looking at Harper, at the way her blue eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, at the curve of her lips as she spoke. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to turn and kiss her. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. I was in love with Harper. The thought both thrilled and terrified me. We continued through the exhibit, but I was only half aware of the art around us. My entire being was focused on Harper, the sound of her voice, the scent of her perfume, the way her hand would occasionally brush against mine as we walked. As the evening wore on, the crowd began to thin. Harper turned to me, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Want to get out of here? I know a great little rooftop bar nearby." I nodded, not trusting my voice. Harper took my hand, leading me out of the gallery and into the warm night air. Her hand felt so right in mine, our fingers intertwined as if they were meant to fit together. The bar was intimate and cozy, string lights twinkling overhead. We found a quiet corner, our knees touching as we sat close together on a small love seat. The conversation flowed easily, as it always did with Harper, but there was an undercurrent of tension, a spark of something more waiting to ignite. As Harper spoke about her dreams of opening her own gallery someday, I found myself mesmerized by the movement of her lips. Without thinking, I reached out, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Harper's words trailed off, her eyes meeting mine. Time seemed to stand still. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears as Harper slowly leaned in. And then, finally, her lips were on mine. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, as if she was afraid I might pull away. But as I responded, wrapping my arms around her neck and pulling her closer, the kiss deepened. Harper's lips were soft and warm, tasting faintly of the wine we'd been drinking. It was everything I'd imagined and more. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, I saw my own mix of emotions reflected in Harper's eyes: desire, happiness, and a touch of uncertainty. "I've been wanting to do that for so long," Harper whispered, her forehead resting against mine. "Me too," I admitted, surprised by how easy it was to say it out loud. We spent the rest of the evening talking, laughing, and stealing kisses. It felt like the most natural thing in the world, as if all the confusion and uncertainty of the past weeks had been leading us to this moment. As Harper walked me to my door at the end of the night, she pulled me close for one last kiss. "Good night, Claire," she murmured against my lips. "Good night, Harper," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I watched her walk away, my heart full to bursting. As I closed the door behind me, leaning against it with a dreamy sigh, I knew that everything had changed. There was no going back now, and truthfully, I didn't want to. That night, as I lay in bed, my lips still tingling from Harper's kisses, my mind raced with thoughts and questions. What did this mean for us? For me? I'd never been with a woman before, never even considered it as a possibility. And yet, being with Harper felt more right than any relationship I'd ever had. But along with the excitement came a wave of anxiety. What would my friends think? My family? How would this affect my life, my career? The world suddenly seemed a lot more complicated than it had just a few hours ago. As dawn broke, I was still wide awake, my emotions oscillating between elation and fear. But one thing was crystal clear amidst all the confusion. I was falling hard for Harper, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next, challenges and all. With that thought, I finally drifted off to sleep, a smile on my face as I dreamed of soft lips and twinkling blue eyes. The weeks following that magical night at the rooftop bar were a whirlwind of stolen kisses, tender moments, and an ever-deepening connection with Harper. Each day brought new discoveries, not just about her, but about myself as well. I found myself reveling in the softness of her touch, the warmth of her smile, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her passions. Our relationship evolved naturally, as if we'd been moving towards this all along. Coffee dates turned into long walks hand in hand. Movie nights on my couch ended with us tangled together, neither wanting to let go. The physical attraction between us was undeniable, a constant undercurrent of electricity that left me breathless. One lazy Sunday afternoon, we were sprawled on Harper's bed, the sunlight streaming through the windows casting a golden glow on her skin. She was showing me some of her recent photographs, but I found myself more captivated by the photographer than the photos. "You're not even looking at the pictures," Harper teased, nudging me with her shoulder. "Can you blame me?" I replied, reaching out to tuck a strand of her chestnut hair behind her ear. "The view right here is much more interesting." Harper's cheeks flushed, and before I knew it, she had set aside her camera and was leaning in to kiss me. The kiss was slow and deep, filled with a hunger that had been building between us for weeks. I lost myself in the feeling of her lips on mine, the taste of her tongue, the soft sighs that escaped her as I ran my fingers through her hair. As things heated up, Harper pulled back slightly, her blue eyes searching mine. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly, her voice laced with both desire and concern. I nodded, my heart racing. "I've never been more sure of anything," I whispered. What followed was a night of tender exploration and passionate discovery. Harper's touch was gentle yet confident, guiding me through this new territory with patience and care. I marveled at the softness of her skin, the curves of her body so different from what I was used to, yet so intoxicating. As we lay together afterwards, our bodies intertwined, I felt a sense of peace and rightness that I'd never experienced before. Harper traced lazy patterns on my skin, sending shivers down my spine. "You okay?" she murmured, pressing a soft kiss to my shoulder. "More than okay," I replied, turning to face her. "I'm happy, truly deeply happy." The smile that lit up Harper's face was radiant, and I couldn't resist leaning in to kiss her again, savoring the feeling of her lips against mine. As wonderful as things were with Harper, I couldn't ignore the nagging voice in the back of my mind reminding me that the rest of the world existed outside our little bubble. I hadn't told anyone about us yet, not even my best friend Lisa. The thought of coming out was terrifying, but I knew I couldn't keep this part of myself hidden forever. It was Lisa who finally forced the issue. We were having our weekly catch-up over lunch when she fixed me with a knowing look. "All right, Spill," she said, setting down her fork. "Who is he?" "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to play dumb even as I felt my cheeks heat up. "Oh, come on, Claire. You've been walking around with this goofy smile for weeks now. You're clearly seeing someone. So, who's the lucky guy?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. This was it. The moment of truth. "It's not a guy," I said softly, unable to meet Lisa's eyes. "It's Harper, you know, the photographer I met at the pool hall?" There was a moment of silence that felt like an eternity. When I finally looked up, Lisa was staring at me, her eyes wide with surprise. "Harper? As in, a woman?" she asked, her voice careful. I nodded, bracing myself for her reaction. To my surprise and relief, Lisa's face broke into a wide grin. "Well, hot damn. Good for you, Claire. Tell me everything. How long has this been going on? Is she treating you right? God, no wonder you've been so secretive lately. The flood of questions and genuine excitement from Lisa broke the tension, and I found myself laughing as I began to share the story of me and Harper. As I talked, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. Lisa's acceptance meant more to me than I'd realized. "I'm really happy for you, Claire," Lisa said once I'd finished recounting the past few weeks. "And I'm proud of you for being true to yourself. That takes guts." Her words brought tears to my eyes, and I reached across the table to squeeze her hand gratefully. That night, as I recounted the conversation to Harper, I felt a renewed sense of confidence and joy. Harper pulled me close, pressing a tender kiss to my forehead. "I'm so proud of you," she murmured. "I know how scary that must have been." As I snuggled into Harper's embrace, I realized that while coming out to Lisa had been a big step, it was just the beginning. There were still challenges ahead, telling my family, navigating the complexities of a same-sex relationship in a world that wasn't always accepting. But with Harper by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came our way. The next few weeks were a period of adjustment and growth. I gradually came out to more of my friends, each positive reaction bolstering my confidence. Harper was there every step of the way, her unwavering support a constant source of strength. As our relationship deepened, I found myself falling more in love with Harper every day. The way she saw the world through her camera lens, always finding beauty in the most unexpected places. Her kindness and compassion, not just towards me but to everyone she encountered. The passion she brought to everything she did, whether it was her photography or simply making breakfast on a lazy Sunday morning. We weren't without our challenges, of course. We had our share of disagreements and misunderstandings, learning to navigate the complexities of our new relationship. But even in those moments of tension, I never doubted the connection we shared. As I lay in bed one night, Harper's sleeping form curled against me, I reflected on how much my life had changed in such a short time. I'd discovered a part of myself I never knew existed, found a love I never thought possible, and embarked on a journey that was both thrilling and terrifying. But as I pressed a soft kiss to Harper's forehead, listening to her contented sigh in her sleep, I knew one thing for certain: whatever challenges lay ahead, this us was worth fighting for. Life had been a whirlwind of happiness since Harper and I had gotten together. Each day seemed brighter, each moment more vivid. Even the mundane tasks of daily life took on a new shine when shared with her. I'd never felt more alive, more myself. That Tuesday started like any other. I woke up early, pressing a soft kiss to Harper's forehead before slipping out of bed. She mumbled something in her sleep, reaching for me, and I had to resist the urge to crawl back under the covers with her. But duty called, and I had a big presentation at work. As I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blazer, I caught sight of the content smile on my face. Who would have thought that a chance encounter in a pool hall would lead to this? I was happier than I'd ever been, both personally and professionally. Life was good. If only I'd known how quickly things can change. The meeting started well. I felt confident as I walked the team through our new marketing strategy. But halfway through my presentation, I noticed my boss, Mr. Thompson, frowning and whispering to HR. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach, but I pushed through, finishing strong. As the room cleared out, Mr. Thompson approached me. "Claire, can I see you in my office?" The walk to his office felt like a march to the gallows. My mind raced, trying to figure out what I could have done wrong. As I sat across from him, the stern look on his face made my heart sink. "Claire, I'm afraid I have some bad news," he began, his voice unnaturally cold. "We're going to have to let you go." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What? Why?" "I don't understand. My numbers have been great. The clients love me." He cut me off with a raised hand. "It's not about your performance, Claire. It's come to our attention that you've been involved with one of our clients." My blood ran cold. Harper. Her company had hired us for a small project last month. It hadn't even occurred to me that it could be an issue. But that was just a one-time thing, and Harper's not even the main contact. "It doesn't matter," Mr. Thompson interrupted. "It's a conflict of interest. We can't have our employees in personal relationships with clients. It's unprofessional and could jeopardize our contracts." I sat there, stunned, as he continued talking about severance and returning company property. The words washed over me, not really sinking in. All I could think about was how quickly my world had turned upside down. As I packed up my desk, my colleagues avoiding eye contact, the reality of the situation began to hit me. I'd lost my job. The career I'd worked so hard to build was in shambles. And for what? Because I'd fallen in love? I stumbled out of the office building, the bright sunlight a stark contrast to the darkness I felt inside. My phone buzzed, a text from Harper. "Hope your presentation went well. Can't wait to hear all about it tonight. Love you." The lump in my throat grew bigger. How was I going to tell her? Would she blame herself? Would this put a strain on our relationship? I wandered aimlessly through the city streets, my mind a whirlwind of fears and doubts. The confidence I'd felt just this morning seemed like a distant memory. Now uncertainty loomed large. How would I pay my bills? Would I be able to find another job in this industry after being fired? And what about Harper? Would she still want to be with someone who was now unemployed, possibly unemployable in her field? As the sun began to set, I found myself at the pool hall where Harper and I first met. It was closed at this hour, but I sat on the curb outside, memories of that night flooding back. The spark I'd felt when our eyes first met, the easy conversation, the way my heart raced when she smiled. It all seemed so simple then. My phone buzzed again. More messages from Harper, growing increasingly worried. I knew I should respond, but I couldn't bring myself to shatter the perfect bubble of her day with my bad news. As I sat there, the weight of the day pressing down on me, I felt the first stirrings of resentment. If I hadn't met Harper, if I hadn't fallen for her, none of this would have happened. I'd still have my job, my career, my stability. The thought made me feel guilty almost immediately. It wasn't Harper's fault. She hadn't asked for any of this either. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Could our relationship survive this? Was what we had strong enough to weather this storm? By the time I finally made my way home, it was late. Harper was waiting up, worry etched on her beautiful face. As soon as she saw me, she rushed over, pulling me into a tight embrace. "Claire, where have you been? I've been so worried. What happened?" I stood there stiffly, not returning her hug. How could I tell her that her love had cost me my job, that our happiness had come at such a high price? "I got fired," I said flatly, pulling away from her. Harper's eyes widened in shock. "What? Why? How is that possible?" I laughed bitterly. Apparently, sleeping with clients is frowned upon in the corporate world. Who knew? The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. The hurt that flashed across Harper's face was like a knife to my heart. "Claire, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. If you'd known what?" I snapped, years of career ambition and professional pride surging to the surface. "That being with you would cost me everything I've worked for?" Harper recoiled as if I'd slapped her. "Is that really how you feel?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The pain in her eyes brought me crashing back to reality. What was I doing? This wasn't Harper's fault. She wasn't the enemy here. "No," I said softly, the fight draining out of me. "No, of course not. I'm sorry, I don't know how to handle this." Harper approached me cautiously, like one might a wounded animal. She cupped my face in her hands, her touch achingly gentle. "We'll figure this out together, okay? You're not alone in this." As I looked into her eyes, full of love and concern, I felt my walls crumbling. I collapsed into her arms, finally letting the tears flow. Harper held me tight, murmuring words of comfort as I sobbed into her shoulder. We stayed like that for what felt like hours, Harper's steady presence anchoring me as I rode waves of fear, anger, and uncertainty. As the storm of emotions began to subside, I realized that despite everything, I was exactly where I needed to be. "I love you," I whispered, my voice hoarse from crying. "I love you too," Harper replied, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. "We're going to get through this, I promise." As we lay in bed that night, Harper's arms wrapped protectively around me. I knew that while the road ahead might be rough, I wouldn't want to face it with anyone else by my side. The weeks following my sudden unemployment were a roller coaster of emotions. Some days I felt optimistic, ready to take on the world and find an even better job. Other days, I could barely drag myself out of bed, consumed by self-doubt and anxiety. Through it all, Harper was my rock, her unwavering support keeping me grounded when I felt like I was spiraling. But as supportive as Harper was, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was becoming a burden. She never complained, but I saw the worry in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. I started to withdraw, spending more time alone. telling myself I was giving her space but really just avoiding the guilt that gnawed at me whenever we were together. One afternoon, as I half-heartedly scrolled through job listings, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey Claire, it's Alex from Pinnacle Media. Heard you're on the market. Interested in grabbing coffee to discuss some opportunities?" My heart raced. Pinnacle Media was one of the top marketing firms in the city. This could be my chance to get back on track. I quickly typed out a response, setting up a meeting for the next day. When Harper got home that evening, I was practically buzzing with excitement. "You'll never guess what happened," I said, throwing my arms around her neck and planting a kiss on her lips. Harper laughed, her blue eyes twinkling. "What's got you so excited?" I told her about the text from Alex, my words tumbling out in a rush. "This could be it, Harper, my way back in. Pinnacle is even better than my old firm. If I land this, it'll be like getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me." Harper's smile faltered for just a moment, so briefly I almost missed it, but then she was hugging me tight, her voice warm in my ear. "That's fantastic, Claire. I'm so happy for you." As I pulled back, I noticed a strange look in her eyes. "What's wrong?" I asked. Harper shook her head, forcing a smile. "Nothing's wrong, I'm really proud of you." Something in her tone didn't sit right with me, but I was too caught up in my excitement to dwell on it. We celebrated that night with takeout and wine, and as we fell into bed together, I felt like things were finally looking up. The next day, I met Alex at a trendy cafe downtown. He was charming and enthusiastic, painting a glowing picture of life at Pinnacle. As he spoke, I could almost see myself there, climbing the corporate ladder, regaining everything I'd lost and then some. "So what do you think?" Alex asked, leaning back in his chair. "Are you interested in coming on board?" I opened my mouth to say yes, but something held me back. "Can I have a day or two to think it over?" I heard myself saying. Alex looked surprised but nodded. "Of course. Take your time. But don't take too long, an opportunity like this won't stay open forever." As I left the cafe, my mind was whirling. This was everything I'd been hoping for, so why was I hesitating? I wandered through the city, lost in thought, and found myself at the art gallery where Harper and I had shared our first kiss. The memory brought a smile to my face, but it was tinged with a strange sadness. I realized then what was holding me back. In all our talks about my job search, Harper and I had never discussed what would happen if I actually found something. Would I have to hide our relationship again? Would I be putting my career at risk once more? By the time I got home, I had worked myself into a state of anxiety. Harper was already there, setting the table for dinner. The domestic scene, so warm and inviting, made my heart ache. "How did the meeting go?" Harper asked, her voice carefully neutral. "It was good," I said hesitantly. "They offered me a job." Harper's face lit up. "Claire, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." But as she moved to hug me, I stepped back. The hurt that flashed across her face was like a knife to my heart. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowed in concern. And suddenly, all the fears and doubts I'd been holding back came pouring out. "I don't know if I can do this, Harper. What if I take this job and we have to hide again? What if someone finds out and I get fired all over again? I can't go through that a second time. I can't." My voice broke and Harper was there in an instant, wrapping me in her arms. "Oh, Claire," she murmured, stroking my hair. "Why didn't you tell me you were feeling this way?" As we talked that night, really talked for the first time in weeks, I realized how much I'd been keeping bottled up. My fears about my career, my guilt over burdening Harper, my uncertainty about our future, it all came spilling out. Harper listened patiently, her hand never leaving mine. When I finally fell silent, she took a deep breath. "Claire, I need to tell you something." My heart clenched, fearing the worst. But what Harper said next took me completely by surprise. "I've been offered a job too, a big one, with National Geographic. It would mean traveling a lot, being on location for months at a time." I stared at her, stunned. When were you going to tell me this?" Harper looked down, her fingers tracing patterns on the back of my hand. "I was going to turn it down. I didn't want to leave you, especially not after everything you've been through." The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. While I'd been wallowing in self-pity, Harper had been prepared to give up her dream job for me. The magnitude of her love, her sacrifice, left me breathless. "Harper, no," I said, squeezing her hand. You can't turn down an opportunity like that. Not for me. But what about us? She asked, her voice small and uncertain. In that moment, looking into her eyes, I knew what I had to do. We'll figure it out, I said firmly. If this job is what you want, then we'll make it work. We can do long distance. I can freelance, maybe even travel with you sometimes. We'll find a way. Harper's eyes filled with tears. Are you sure? What about Pinnacle? I shook my head, suddenly clear on what I wanted. Pinnacle isn't worth losing you. We'll face whatever comes together, just like we promised. As Harper pulled me into a kiss, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in weeks I wasn't afraid of it. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we'd face them together. That night, as we lay tangled together in bed, I marveled at how much had changed in such a short time. I'd lost a job but gained a deeper understanding of what really mattered. Harper had shown me a love I never knew existed, one that was strong enough to weather any storm. As I drifted off to sleep, Harper's steady heartbeat beneath my ear, I realized that sometimes the greatest opportunities come disguised as setbacks. And sometimes, the most precious things in life are the ones you never saw coming. The warm ocean breeze tousled my hair as I stood on the balcony of our beachside cottage, watching the sun dip below the horizon. It had been 6 months since that pivotal night when Harper and I had laid our cards on the table, choosing each other over our individual career ambitions. In that time, our lives had transformed in ways I never could have imagined. I'd taken the plunge into freelance marketing, a decision that initially terrified me but now filled me with a sense of freedom and purpose I'd never experienced in my corporate life. My client list was growing, and I was doing work I truly believed in, no longer constrained by the politics and pressures of office life. Harper, true to her adventurous spirit, had accepted the National Geographic position. She'd been traveling the world, capturing breathtaking images that told stories of cultures and landscapes I'd only dreamed of. But no matter where her work took her, she always found her way back to me. Our relationship had deepened in ways I hadn't thought possible. The distance, rather than driving us apart, had brought us closer. Every reunion was a celebration, every moment together cherished. We'd learned to communicate in new ways, to support each other's dreams while nurturing our own. As I stood there, lost in thought, I felt Harper's arms wrap around me from behind. She nuzzled into my neck, her familiar scent enveloping me. "Penny for your thoughts?" she murmured, pressing a soft kiss to my shoulder. I leaned back into her embrace, a contented sigh escaping my lips. Just thinking about how much has changed. How far we've come. Harper hummed in agreement. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? I turned in her arms, taking in the sight of her. The setting sun cast a golden glow on her skin, her blue eyes sparkling with the same warmth and love that had captivated me from the start. She looked relaxed and happy, the stress and uncertainty of the past months nowhere to be seen. Do you ever regret it? I asked, a hint of my old insecurity creeping in. Choosing this life? Choosing me? Harper's response was immediate and firm. Never, she said, cupping my face in her hands. You are the best decision I've ever made, Claire. Every day with you is an adventure, even when we're apart. Her words washed over me, chasing away the last vestiges of doubt. I leaned in, capturing her lips in a kiss that spoke volumes of love, gratitude, and promise. As we parted, Harper's eyes twinkled with mischief. Come on, she said, taking my hand. I have a surprise for you. She led me down to the beach, where I was amazed to find a picnic set up near the water's edge. Candles flickered in mason jars, casting a warm glow over a blanket laden with an assortment of our favorite foods. Harper, I breathed, taking in the romantic scene. When did you do all this? She shrugged, a shy smile playing on her lips. I had some help from the cottage owners. I wanted tonight to be special. As we settled onto the blanket, the sound of the waves providing a soothing backdrop, Harper reached for something hidden beneath a napkin. My breath caught as she revealed a small velvet box. Claire, she began, her voice thick with emotion. These past months have shown me that home isn't a place, it's a person. And you, my love, are my home. She opened the box, revealing a stunning ring. The center stone caught the last rays of the setting sun, sending prismatic reflections dancing across the sand. Will you marry me? Harper asked, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Will you be my home, my anchor, my greatest adventure, for the rest of our lives? Tears blurred my vision as I nodded emphatically. Yes, I managed to choke out. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As Harper slipped the ring onto my finger, I marveled at how perfectly it fit, just like Harper and I fit together. We sealed our engagement with a kiss that tasted of salt and happiness, the promise of our future stretching out before us like the endless horizon. Later that night, as we lay tangled together in the cottage bedroom, the sound of the waves a gentle lullaby, I couldn't stop staring at the ring on my finger. It was a tangible reminder of how far we'd come, of the obstacles we'd overcome, and the love that had only grown stronger through it all. Harper propped herself up on an elbow, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin. "What are you thinking about now?" she asked, her voice soft in the darkness. I turned to her, my heart so full it felt like it might burst. "I'm thinking about how lucky I am," I said. "How one night in a pool hall changed the entire course of my life. How falling in love with you taught me more about myself than I ever thought possible." Harper's smile was radiant. "We've only just begun, my love. The best is yet to come." As I drifted off to sleep in the arms of my fiancé, I knew she was right. Our journey together had already been incredible, full of highs and lows, challenges and triumphs, but it was just the beginning. The future stretched out before us, full of promise and possibility. There would be more challenges, no doubt. More separations as Harper's work took her to far-flung corners of the globe. More late nights as I built my freelance business. But I knew now that we could weather any storm, as long as we faced it together. Our love story wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and sometimes scary, but it was ours. And as I lay there, listening to the steady beat of Harper's heart, I knew I wouldn't have it any other way. The girl who had walked into that pool hall all those months ago, so sure of her path in life, was gone. In her place was a woman who had learned to embrace uncertainty, to chase her dreams, and to love without fear. As sleep finally claimed me, my last coherent thought was one of gratitude. Gratitude for the unexpected turns life had taken. For the courage to choose love over fear. And most of all, for the beautiful, passionate, endlessly supportive woman sleeping beside me. Whatever the future held, I knew one thing for certain: with Harper by my side, every day would be an adventure. And I couldn't wait to see where our love would take us next.